Hello and welcome or welcome back. This is part 2 of my Oaxaca video journal, but you don't have to watch part 1 first. It's taken me a while to figure out how to really talk about this, and how to talk about my feelings around the experience, and especially after reading a lot of comments on the last video and getting some different private messages and stuff. I still have a lot of complicated feelings around my participation in this retreat, the impact of my traveling, especially given my background, and how money, status, class, these all work together to impact interpersonal dynamics. So before I continue talking about my own experiences, I want to read out this comment from my last video. Gentrification of Oaxaca is destroying it for locals. The rich, the hotel owners, and the politicians get rich from tourism. Poor people get few pesos for a lot of work. Watching travelers try to haggle over a blouse that took a month for a woman to make is just disgusting. As for the local markets, the people I know in the local market say they are increasingly flooded with large tour groups who don't buy anything but disrupt the market. What tourist is going to buy a chicken? What is a tourist going to buy? Probably a made-in-China trinket. Tourism and digital migrants are sucking up the housing and displacing local businesses with chi-chi shops and restaurants locals cannot dream of going to. Yeah, the fresas like it. It helps their economy, but it fucks it up for the locals. The 10-day-long writers' retreat was organized by an American company called Wayfaring Writers. I was referred to them by one of my friends from the Pacific Crest Trail. He actually came along on this retreat with me. We all stayed at Casona, Oaxaca, and went on a bunch of different outings together, as well as had workshops and classes and just general fun times hanging out with people. It was honestly just really cool hanging out with a bunch of other creative types, like people who just see the world a little bit differently or want to examine it a little bit closer. As I talked about in the last video, we went to the ruins at Monte Alban, where we had a guided tour that I split off from for a little bit and just did my own wandering around. The next day, on our way to a textile mill, we stopped by Tule to see the Arbol de Tule, which is the stoutest tree in the world. It was kind of a fun stop on our way out. I was so fascinated by the Zapotec weaving process. I'd just love to show you.
El tapete, el diseño, lo más bonito es que el diseño lo tenemos en la mente.
The most beautiful thing we do here, we don't even need a pattern. We all have it in our minds, in our heads.
Se va tejiendo de la siguiente manera.
So we do this weaving this way.
Utilizando los pies tan importante.
Using the pedals, you see the feet, it's gonna step on them. This is a pedal loom.
Tejiendo color por color, hilo por hilo, miren. Voy
Color by
avanzando
color.
parte por parte.
Thread by thread.
Y de esta manera vamos avanzando en el tejido. En 8 a 9 horas yo puedo avanzar
8 to 9
5
hours. We
centímetros al
can
día.
progress
5 centímetros
5
al día.
centimeters, like 2 inches, I think. Because of the labor, it's kind of difficult to work on this mat.
Por tipo de diseño. Yes,
Because
por
of
tipo
the
de
design.
diseño.
When it's lines, you can do it faster.
While we were there, I bought a rug for my in-laws and a couple of shawls for myself, which are just so warm and gorgeous. The colors are so vibrant. I did not haggle for anything. I'm not really a haggling person. I don't feel comfortable with that. It was so interesting learning about the ways that they process the wool and create the different dyes and how they dye the wool, the amount of time that it takes for all of this process and for the weaving process too, and all of the just gorgeous patterns that they can come up with.
What would you like to get to know better? Traditional or
Traditional.
Modern.
Traditional.
Traditional.
Ajá, ok. Les quiero compartir también diferentes tamaños en
Different sizes
tradicionales. Miren.
in traditional.
Ajá. No mucho tintes,
Not
cáscara
so
de
many
nueces. Miren.
dyes. This is the walnut shell colors.
Miren. Diferentes combinaciones.
Different combinations.
No tintes, no
No,
colors,
no dyes on this one right here.
naturales.
All natural.
Las grecas de Mitla, símbolo de la familia.
Oh, this is the family symbol. So
After showing us the textile process and bringing us through their shop, they cooked us lunch and made us some homemade chocolate right in front of us. So we got to watch the entire process, which was very interesting. Afterward, we drove through the countryside and went to go taste some mezcal. We got to learn about the process of harvesting agave plants and roasting them and distilling them into making, it's kind of like tequila, but it's not really, I mean, it's not tequila. Tequila's like in the mezcal family, I think is what it is. But we also got to, we did a tasting, and it was really pretty. I don't really know the words to, it's taking me like months to get this video out because I just don't know how to talk about this without seeming protect. I don't know. It's gorgeous there. It was really beautiful there, and I had so much fun out dancing, and we went. It was really fun. I just hate reading all the comments that are like, "Oh, just sit back and enjoy your privilege." Like, just sit back and enjoy. It's like, how do you sit back and enjoy something that you don't agree with what you're doing? Like, how do you just like sit back and pretend that you're not impacting people? Pretend that you're not like part of the problem? I don't know. I'm just still working through my feelings on this, I think. I'm still kind of processing what I was partaking in. Because a lot of it, just like at the time, I just felt a general sense of ick. But I couldn't quite place why or where it was coming from or like what specifically it was. And I think after doing more research since then, I've been able to point more towards specific words like gentrification and privilege, and it just like kind of grossed me out when I would talk to other people in the group about what I was feeling, and they would come back with things like, "Oh, well, when I went on this mission trip to Haiti, the poverty was just even 10 times worse there." So, like, kind of implying, like, "Oh, well, so you haven't even really seen poverty." Like, one gal was even saying, like, "Well, I grew up very poor." And it's just like, well, that I'm not saying that you haven't been around poverty, or that you haven't seen it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just, how can you take part in that, knowing that your choices there are actively making things worse for the people who live there? Like, and I get that at least, they make money from the tourist dollars, but like what the commenter was saying from the first comment I shared, tourists aren't generally buying the things that would actually help their economy grow. They're buying trinkets and just crap. And even the people that I was in the group with, like, walked away with a bunch of stuff that was made in China and imported into Oaxaca. That I don't know. I think I might make part 3 of this. There is still a few days left. There were still a few more days on this trip where I ended up having a mental breakdown over food and throwing up, and it was this whole thing. And that was also really... Anyway, I'd like to leave you with this comment. Thank you for processing your experience of colonization. I've re-immigrated to Mexico after growing up in California. My family is from Mexico. The people of Oaxaca that survived the colonization and enslavement are still here, even if they cannot live their pre-colonial ways. The locals are very frustrated with the gentrification that has happened. They are surviving and doing their best to also survive climate chaos. It's sad your tour was centering the white experience, and you seem to have sensed that. Welcome to the discomfort of decolonization. Stay curious in the work.